They say the best things come in small packages, and Apple's HomePod 2 could be one of them. It is rumored that Apple will be releasing an updated HomePod, or maybe a HomePod mini, or potentially both at their March 25th event this year. We don't actually know too much about the HomePod, but it is speculating that there will be either a HomePod or a HomePod mini. I'm kind of hoping for the HomePod mini because then the price would definitely be reduced and we could see some other cool upgrades, which we will get into in the video.
Yes, it is rumored that for the HomePod mini, they're actually going to be partnering with their in-house brand, Beats, which will actually be manufacturing the speakers, and then they would just have the internal components to go with it.
And the reason we kind of hope this, and people online are hoping for this too, is because Apple hasn't really done much since they purchased Beats back a few years ago. So this could be one of their ways to kind of get into that market, because a lot of people really like Beats, the headphones, and I'm sure if they released a Beats HomePod, it would do pretty well compared to Amazon's product and Google Assistant.
Now, another rumor with the HomePod mini is that they're supposed to have bold colors. Beats is known for having bold color choices for their headphones. It'll be cool if they implement it into their actual speakers too.
Samsung is also supposed to be working on a smart speaker, the Galaxy Home. And it's strange because they didn't actually unveil it at their Unpacked event a few days ago. So Apple needs to get their foot in the door before Samsung does in order to gain that market share and become more popular.
The only thing, okay, if I was Apple, I would not be worried about the Galaxy HomePod if it only runs Bixby. If it's a Bixby home speaker, no one will use it.
Regarding price, we're not entirely sure how much it's going to cost. If it is a HomePod mini, it will likely be significantly reduced from the original HomePod price. We're thinking in the ballpark range of about $200 American. Another rumor that we've heard and we saw online is that Apple filed for a patent for Face ID and 3D gesture sensors.
Yeah, this was supposed to be something that was launched with the original HomePod. It was supposed to have Face ID recognition, which I don't understand. I don't know why you would need that on a speaker, but it's supposed to have it.
Well, the patent described it as a countertop speaker that could identify users in the vicinity of the speaker using facial recognition.
And then it would tailor its responses depending on who was there.
Probably. It will also be able to measure the distance between how far that user is from the speaker itself.
That's kind of cool. And then if you like it at a certain volume, it'll make sure you hear that volume regardless of how close you are to it.
Maybe that's where they're going with it. The patent also suggested that various cameras and sensors will be around to gather hand gestures and other 3D gesture inputs. So you could do, I don't know, maybe scroll through a song or hit next for a song or increase the volume somehow.
Now, what about the actual HomePod 2? Are there any rumors on that, or is it just the mini so far?
So we don't know if it's going to be the mini or the HomePod 2. We're not entirely sure, or both. Another rumored feature is that the updated HomePod will include Bluetooth connectivity, which the original HomePod didn't do.
On the original HomePod, you were only allowed to connect to it via AirPlay, which is sort of one of the downsides to it. You could also only use Apple Music to play on it. You could only use Apple products or Apple streaming services on it, and you could only use Siri on it.
So it really limits your capabilities with the HomePod. So with this upgraded one, we expect open access to all video and and all music streaming devices like Spotify and others. It's also rumored, like Senna already said, that there will be different colors. So if it is a Beats product, you're going to have more colorful and bold colors. And finally, we are hoping for better Siri performance. Now, Siri is pretty good, but on the HomePod right now, it doesn't really compete with the Google Assistant or Amazon Alexa. So if they do release a new HomePod, Siri needs to be heavily upgraded. So those are the rumors that we found about Apple's long-awaited HomePod 2 or HomePod mini. If there's new information out there, make sure to comment them down below, or if there's something cool that you want to see in the HomePod, make sure to comment down below.
And subscribe if you're new.